Give me just a sec, will you? I'm checking my balance at the BetParks Casino app. Do you want to know what it is? Here, I'll give you a quick peek. There it is. Here's my balance. $368.25. Not bad, right? I love it. Live in-game betting. Bet all your favorite sports, play all your favorite casino games for real money. Download it on the App Store. Have some skin in the game. It adds to my enjoyment watching live sports. Download on the App Store, Google Play Store, or at the betparks.com location. You got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'd like to see if I can get that balance up from 368 to 568. Wouldn't that be great? All right. So it's the other item in my hand that you have come to hear me discuss, I imagine. Let me just help my framing. Voila. There it is. At long last, the warrant. The warrant that was served on Mar-a-Lago on Monday. What a crazy week this has been. I said on radio yesterday that Fridays in August used to be the evergreen file day. If you do what I do for a living, you inevitably keep a file. Now I do it electronically, but I used to actually have a manila file where I would throw clippings that were good for a rainy day. You know, those things that didn't have to be uncorked on a particular day. They weren't tied to a particular news cycle, but you knew they were going to be great talkers. In fact, I used as an example yesterday something I truly had intended to get into. And then, of course, we didn't, but we will at some point. Someone put together a list of music that's good and bad for dogs in terms of bringing about calmness. Bob Marley and reggae. Good for your dog if you want to calm them down. Led Zeppelin and AC/DC, not so good. And I said yesterday that the not so good list is the list I most listen to. So those days are over. You know, like in the era of Trump, and whether he's in office or out of office, it's the era of Trump. The man has dominated, will continue to dominate every news cycle until he no longer exists. I'm convinced of it. But there just aren't evergreen file days any longer. So yesterday at about 3 p.m., I guess details of it began to be leaked. The Wall Street Journal had it initially. But by 3 p.m., which was the deadline that was set by the magistrate judge, finally came the public release of the warrant. So have you ever seen one of these? There's not too much to it, and it doesn't reveal a great deal of information. You can see that it's signed by the United States Attorney in Miami because it is a filing for the court of the warrant as well as the inventory. Then it looks something like this. The highlighting, of course, is mine. Now, what's interesting is here's the warrant, and here's the front page of the New York Times where they put the warrant on the front page. The signature is that of the federal magistrate judge. His name is Bruce Reinhardt. He is a law school classmate of mine. I can't overstate it because, as far as I know, I didn't have a relationship with him. My class was not so large at the University of Pennsylvania, class of 1987. It was broken into two sections. And in the first year of law school, when you take those core courses, criminal law, civil procedure, contracts, torts, you're broken down into two different sections, and never do the two mix. So you get to know the people who are in your section as compared to the other. Good trivia, right? So you can see that the date of the warrant, it says you are commanded to execute this warrant on or before August 19, 2022. They had 2 weeks to execute it. And one of the things that you'll hear said is that, of course, to Democrats, because this is broken in such a partisan direction, they say, well, there's a sense of urgency, nuclear documents, blah, 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 blah. And Republicans say, well, he granted it on a Friday and they didn't carry it out until Monday. So how urgent could it have been? What was to be searched? Physical location. The locations to be searched include the 45 office, all storage rooms, all other rooms or areas within the premises used or available to be used by F. POTUS. No, that doesn't mean F the POTUS. That means former POTUS. And his staff, and in which boxes or documents could be stored, including all structures or buildings on the estate. It does not include areas currently, i.e. at the time of the search, being occupied, rented, or used by third parties such as Mar-a-Lago members, and not otherwise used or available to be used by former POTUS and his staff, such as private guest suites. So it's very defined in terms of what area is to be searched. Okay. And you come on to attachment B. This is a little more illuminating. All physical documents and records constituting evidence, contraband, fruits of a crime, or other items illegally possessed in violation of, and then there are 3 criminal statutes that are cited. And the first of them, you see 18 U.S.C. 793. That's the Espionage Act. It doesn't mean that you're engaged in espionage against the United States government. What it really means is that you are caught up in, participating in, causing an unlawful retention of federal property. I mean, that's really what that means. And none of the 3 of these is dependent upon classification. I think people are getting confused about that. I'll try and do my best to summarize it here and also on CNN today. It also says that this pertains to any government and or presidential records created between January 20, 2017, that was his inauguration date, and January 2021, which of course is the day that he left and Biden came in. Okay, now we get to the inventory. You see this, receipt of property? Do you see the signature? That's the president, the former president's lawyer. That's Christina Bobb. In fact, she signed her name and then she spelled out her name. And it says 6:19 p.m., 6/8, June 8, that was on Monday. So this is left for the president's attorney at the conclusion of the search. So too the warrant. The point being, the president, through his counsel, has had this since 6:19 p.m. on Monday. So he could have produced this at any time. Everything that we just went through, Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the mishigas, all the drama. There was nothing that stopped him at 6:20 p.m. from putting it out there if he wanted it to be out there. I mean, it suited him, and David French wrote a piece about this in The Atlantic. It suited him not to have it out there and to have everybody, clamoring for it because he controlled the narrative. Now that it's out, the question remains, does it continue to benefit him politically? I'm asking today in the poll question at Smerconish.com whether all of this has boosted his odds of being the Republican nominee. And if it did, here's what follows. If it did boost his odds of being the Republican nominee, then he's a giant step closer to being elected again as president. So what's in the inventory? Okay. 4 documents, 29 box labels, 30 box labels, 31 box labels, 33 box labels. They really seized 11 sets of documents in all. And when you get to the next page of the inventory, again, the highlighting is mine because I went looking for the secret stuff. You see, miscellaneous secret documents, miscellaneous top secret documents, miscellaneous top secret documents, miscellaneous confidential documents. Over here, miscellaneous secret documents, confidential document, miscellaneous secret document, miscellaneous confidential, miscellaneous top secret, miscellaneous top secret. There's a typo there. Doesn't tell you what any of them are. And that's it. What word will you not see in any of that information? You will not see the word nuclear. So are we any closer to reaching consensus, to reaching, one truth as to what this is all about? And I would say, no, absolutely we're not. So many of the people supportive of the president dug in without having any of the facts, just based on their perception of the raid. And it's kind of stunning when you think about it. And I noted this on radio this week. Ron DeSantis immediately came to Trump's support. So too did Mike Pence. So too did Kevin McCarthy. You wonder if they're wishing they hadn't done so and wishing they could backtrack now. And similarly, on the left, Democrats have been absolutely gleeful about this and eager to convict Trump in their minds before knowing anything about it. We really didn't know anything. We still don't know a hell of a lot. Here are my takeaways. My takeaways as of this moment. We are no closer to consensus as to the propriety or the necessity of the search. I was going to have as a poll question today something that asked whether, viewed with what we know now, was it necessary for the execution of a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago? I don't think we know enough to know right now. I'm going to try and do on television today something that I did loosely on radio yesterday, except now I'm going to be scripted. I'm going to try and exhibit the mindset of the typical Republican and Democrat on this, as if they were gathered around a Keurig machine in the office, assuming somebody went to the office, and with a thought bubble. I'm not sure how it'll look on TV. We haven't rehearsed yet, but I'm excited to try. The Democrat says, the New York Times reported Thursday that there was a subpoena issued. So when Trump didn't comply, the search was absolutely necessary. Right? That's one mindset you hear. And then the Republican responds, yeah, but he had produced certain documents and he was cooperating. He even greeted the people from the archives when they came to his house in June. So why didn't the feds file a motion to compel or just issue another subpoena? And back and forth it goes. And I'm gonna have like three exchanges that I see playing themselves out. Some of the information was compartmented. You heard callers maybe to the radio program yesterday talking about the SCI level of information. General Mark Hertling is an expert in these matters, and he's going to be my guest. The Special Access Program and the SCI sensitive compartmented information. It's like a double secret probation, if I can put it in Animal House terms. Everything comes down to Animal House and Caddyshack in the end, doesn't it? So it's really at an uber level, and it's only supposed to be viewed in special circumstances. So the bottom line is he had national secrets stored in an unsecured resort setting. We don't know what's contained in those documents. We also don't know, why did he retain them? Why, if there were a subpoena issued by a grand jury, and maybe the biggest unspoken of all, and I've got to make sure that I make this clear on TV today, is that we've been focused on January 6th, the January 6th committee. And with regard to the January 6th committee, they can't bring criminal charges. There's the New York Attorney General investigation, has to do with the alleged inflation of assets by Trump and his business. That's where he took the fifth this week. No criminal prosecution flows from that. That's a civil proceeding. He could get fined. His business could get fined. You've got the Fulton County District Attorney looking at him, a jury for the Brad Raffensperger find me 11,000 votes. That could be perilous for him. Nothing in the Southern District of New York. The Manhattan DA is not conducting an investigation. And then you've got the feds out there looking. And then you've got the feds out there looking, we know, at January 6th. But we really haven't focused on, and I didn't know, is that there's some other grand jury at work now looking at the retention of documents issue. And that's where the subpoena came from. So Evan Perez is going to be my guest on CNN today, and I'll ask him about that. I mean, I didn't know there was a grand jury looking at Trump for all of this. I wonder if Evan did. I don't see, I should underscore this, I don't see, the Washington Post made a big deal over the fact that there were supposedly some nuclear-related documents and all of this. That is not referenced here. That doesn't mean they don't exist, but it's not referenced here. The question that I ask is, why retain this? Because he knew the National Archives wanted to have material back. He complied to a certain extent. I think it was 15 boxes that he handed back previously. Why did he keep these? It just seems like such an unforced error. Like he wanted to keep some documentation pertaining to Roger Stone getting a pardon. Why? Why bring this on? And similarly, why did the feds go to DEFCON 5? Why was there a breakdown in negotiations? Why the necessity? Why the urgency? We still don't know that. None of the three statutes, including the Espionage Act, require or depend on classification. So even though we're interested in classification because we want to know, well, like how serious was this stuff? But the statutes that were cited do not require anything pertaining to the classification act. Again, the Espionage Act talks about the unauthorized retention of federal property. So maybe it was a paperweight, and he could still run afoul of these statutes, not having anything to do with classification. None of the things that to be charged. Something that's significant. Just don't mind that Merrick Garland. Maybe it is that was federal property. We want to get it back. It's not his. They got it back, and that's the end of it. Or maybe it means that because they issued a warrant pursuant to the Espionage Act, that they're ready to charge him. Any of these three. We just don't know. Trump, I saw this last night on Hannity. Trump's defense is that he had a habit. I got to say, I like chuckled when I heard this last night. The defense is that he had a habit of taking materials from the Oval Office to the residence when he was the president, and that he had a standing order that anything he removed from the Oval Office was declassified. So perhaps that's going to be the way that he tries to argue this publicly, that anything he took in his possession, because a president has the opportunity to declassify but can't just wave a magic wand, but he will say that anything that was there was declassified because of his standing order. Again, yeah, that's it. I mean, those are my read this. I still don't know a great deal. There's a lot more that I would like to know. And I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised by the number of media figures and politicians who rushed into this thing and took a decisive side, one side or the other, following the talking points, all the stuff we talk about here time and time again. So we'll see how it plays out. But that is that's the warrant. And my daily newsletter contains it today. So thank you so much for being a subscriber that you are to Smerconish Daily Newsletter. Thank you for watching here on YouTube. I'll tell you a quick funny thing before we part company that I just learned of. You know that a week ago, I conducted an interview with Pink Floyd lyricist Roger Waters, and it aired on CNN a week ago today. We aired about 6.5 minutes worth of about a 27-minute long interview, which I was thrilled to conduct, and I enjoyed conducting the interview and engaging in conversation with Roger Waters, and I've had that pleasure, and it has been a pleasure of mine, even when he scolds me a couple of different times. Well, anyway, the interview aired, caused a lot of controversy because of the things that he said. Go watch it for yourself. I then posted the totality of the interview and just learned that Roger was on stage Wednesday night in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know why I didn't know this sooner. But during the course of the concert, he talked about CNN editing the tape in a way to make him look like a prick. That's what he said. And I had to respond to this because I had a direct hand in what was being presented on CNN. I wish I could have played the whole thing on CNN, but it's 20 minutes long. I only get, I think, about 46 minutes every week on the program. But I was so proud of the interview. Generally, I wanted the public to see the whole thing. So much, in contrast to what he's saying, that's now deliberately, it was edited to make him look bad. I voluntarily put the whole thing out. If I were out to do a hatchet job on Roger Waters, don't you think I'd be pulling a Rosemary Woods on the 27-minute full version? No, through creative outfit, the crew that reported it and assist me with my YouTube channel. We put the whole thing out. So anybody who thinks that it was a deliberate act to make him, as he says, look like a prick, no, watch the full tape. To the extent he looks that way, that's on him. I tried to be fair. Okay, thanks. I'll see you soon, I hope. And make sure you're subscribing here to YouTube and share it with a friend as well. See ya.